My guest today is Samir Kerbage. Samir is the Chief Investment Officer and Head of Products at Hashdex, which, of course, is a global pioneer in asset management, particularly with ETFs and a number of crypto index products worldwide. Welcome to the show, Samir.
Hey, Andy, great to talk to you.
Great to talk to you. Let's do what we do at the beginning of the show. It would be cool if you could please introduce yourself. I have had a bit of a look. You've got quite an interesting background. Love to hear a little bit of your personal and professional backstory, what you've been doing in the lead up to joining the team at Hashdex.
Yeah, no, sure. So I'm currently the Chief Investment Officer at Hashdex, but I'm a computer engineer. So I've graduated in a military school in Brazil. I worked for some time in the army with cybersecurity and command and control, and then started like getting involved with financial markets, and ended up leaving the army to start working on a prop trading firm, doing high frequency trading, and that was the start of my career in the financial markets. Then I worked for like an electronic trading company that was building a new stock exchange here in Brazil. That's when I learned a lot about market infrastructure and about how the financial markets work, and also that there was the opportunity for me to learn more about blockchain. So I've heard about crypto before and wasn't very interested. That was back in 2016. I don't know if you remember that, but there was that narrative that uh, Bitcoin and crypto is something. It's not good. It's for criminals, but blockchain is a technology that will be used for enterprise and is going to be revolutionary for the financial market. So I started to look into blockchain with that angle, trying to use blockchain for trying to create competitive advantages, reinvent the market infrastructure for stock exchange for equities, and and then I heard the concept of a decentralized exchange, and basically, how you can do with 50 lines of code, you can do the same work of like a huge corporation with thousands of employees and billions of dollars in capital. So then like it, just clicked on my mind that this is the future. So I started investing, started getting involved with crypto. That was like late 2016. Um, and then in 2000, early 2018, I met Marcelo. Marcelo Sampaio is the founder of Hashdex. So he had this idea of building institutional grade crypto asset manager and also creating a benchmark for the crypto industry. So crypto is way bigger than just Bitcoin. And the opportunity was to create the S&P 500 of crypto. What is the benchmark if you want to evaluate your investment strategies or if you want a broad market exposure. So we joined forces, and I started at Hashdex in June 2018, and since then has been just a great adventure. Been working with multiple different products in the portfolio management and the product side. We have the so Hashdex is a crypto asset manager that now has presence in Latam, in Europe, and in the US. We have around $1 billion in AUM. We are the third largest ETF asset manager in Brazil, and we launched the world's first crypto index ETF in 2021 in Brazil. That has been a very successful product in the country as well. But currently, we have more than 10 mutual funds active and passive, 6 ETFs in Brazil, 2 ETPs in Europe, 1 ETP in the US. So like it's just the beginning of our journey, and we're very excited to be part of that.
Awesome. Yeah, that's yeah, it brings us right up to date. Look, we'll dive into the ETFs, but I just want to just pull on one thing. You said you're in the army, and I've got it in my notes that yeah, you're a military engineer officer at the Brazilian Army's Center for Communications and Electronic Warfare, which it's just kind of an interesting job description. Don't need to spend too long on it, but just yeah, what does that mean? It's just fascinating.
So electronic warfare right now is basically cybersecurity. So Um, so electronic warfare is kind of like using electronic means, radio signs, and basically any kind of electric magnetic fields to interfere with the enemy. And the angle that I've joined there as a military engineer, so I graduated in computer engineer in a military school. I was appointed to work with cybersecurity, so building the framework for cybersecurity that currently now is very relevant, and it's certainly like one of the big fronts that the military, like the global military, need to handle is cybersecurity, right? It's a huge industry right now. So
Yeah.
that's where I started my career, cybersecurity.
And you're Brazilian? Are you still based in Brazil?
Yeah, I'm Brazilian. I'm Brazilian. I'm based in Rio,
Yeah.
and yeah,
Well,
yeah.
let's start there then. So, love to get just a kind of sense in terms of from Bitcoin or crypto. What is the attitude in Brazil to crypto or Bitcoin as an investable asset class? How has this evolved? And yeah, how is this happening or rolling out? I guess for different sectors of the Brazilian population, you've got your high net worths, institutions, and then kind of the general population. How is crypto and the various products that you guys are building at Hashdex? How is that playing out for Brazil?
Yeah, so Brazil is historically an early adopter for technology. And since we have a past, not so long distant past of higher inflation and hyperinflation, like the concept of Bitcoin is something that is very natural for the investors. It's something that makes total sense, something that is independent of the government, that just like the government just can just print more. So um, like the estimates that we have in Brazil here is that almost 10 million investors are currently having some kind of exposure to crypto. Just for you to have a reference, in the stock exchange for equities, the stock exchange has something like 1 to 2 million investors. So we have five more, 5 times more investors in crypto than you have in equities in Brazil.
Wow.
Uh, uh,
Okay,
so
that does
it's
indeed put it
it,
into perspective.
Exactly. So it's a huge penetration. And when you talk about the regulated market, the market for funds and ETFs, this is a market that is mostly like the mostly retail, but it's kind of like the retail that has a financial advisor. Um, it's the retail that is diversifying its portfolio using crypto to diversify its portfolio. It's not like speculation, like not speculative type of retail investor. It's mostly financial advisors. So we have like something like 70% of the RIAs, the investment advisors in the country, invest in one of our products. And we've been seeing the demand just picking up since 2021. And Brazil has been also very forward looking in terms of regulation to bring crypto to the regulatory framework, especially for institutional investors to invest in crypto. So we have like a new fund regulation last year that basically nominated or declared crypto as an asset class, as an investable asset class for investment funds. So if you are like a pension fund or a fund manager, investment advisor, you can start now considering crypto as one of the asset classes that you can invest in. So I see like Brazil is it's ahead of the curve compared to the other countries, especially compared to the US, countries like the US. It's very ahead of the curve in terms of the adoption with professional investors and institutional investors.
Yep. And so you mentioned, I think that you guys at Hashdex was one of the first to release or create a crypto index ETF, right? So just
Yes.
explain that was 2021. So I guess the previous bull market.
Yeah.
Explain how. Yeah, I'd love to just understand how that particular ETF is doing. Maybe what are the constituent assets in it, and where is that available?
Yeah, so this ETF, it tracks the Nasdaq Crypto Index. It's an
Yep.
index that we co-created with Nasdaq to be like I said in the beginning, the S&P 500 or the Nasdaq 100 of crypto, the benchmark for the asset class. Right now, it has something like 10 constituents. It's market cap weighted, so it's mostly Bitcoin and Ether right now because of the weight, and has a quarterly rebalance process. So every quarter, new assets can be included or removed based on like an index governance that is managed by Nasdaq. So this product was launched in 2021. It was a huge success, April 2021. So just again, for you to have a reference, in the first month of operation of this ETF, it expanded the number of investors on B3, the Brazilian Stock Exchange, by 30%. Okay, so it brought in new investors that were not investing in the stock exchange because like now they have access to a crypto ETF. Now it has something like $700 million in AUM. So it's one of the largest ETFs here, one of the most liquid ETFs in Brazil, the second one with most investors. So it has like 130,000 investors. So it's a very popular product here, and it's basically the go-to alternative for professional investors, investment advisors, when they're looking for crypto exposure in the client's portfolio. So it's a very successful product, and we've been able to through a big effort in education, like educating the financial advisors, we've been able to consolidate the Nasdaq Crypto Index as the benchmark, and also this message that crypto is way bigger than just Bitcoin. Of course, Bitcoin is very relevant. It's still like the big killer app, the big application that everyone talks about, but crypto is way bigger than just Bitcoin, and we're only starting. So Brazil is the country where we've been able uh, to consolidate that narrative with investors.
Yeah, fantastic. Very well said. All right, well, let's switch to the US, I suppose, because if you're thinking of Bitcoin ETFs, of course, you know, that has been the dominant narrative really since the start of the year, since those the spot Bitcoin
Mhm.
ETFs were approved by the SEC. The approval was not really to anyone's surprise. It was signaled well in advance, and you know, through the kind of the negotiations, if you like, with the SEC and the various issuers, it became clear that they would be approved. I think what was a surprise was the initial popularity in terms of the inflows into those ETFs. And then, of course, another surprise was perhaps as much as, yeah, money can flow in, money can flow out as well. So we had some significant outflows as well. But yeah, one part of the story that was maybe less well covered is you guys, your role in this as one of those ETFs with the ticker DeFi, right? So just pick up the thread, and love to hear you kind of tell the Hashdex part of the story.
Yeah, no, that's great. So it's been a big adventure, like working with the SEC for the last few years to get those products approved. So we've launched this product. So right now we have a product called the Hashdex Bitcoin ETF, ticker DeFi. We've launched that product in 2022 as a futures product. So it was the Hashdex Bitcoin Futures ETF. It was in a structure that would allow it to convert it to spot. Okay. So the reason why we did this is that we believed that given the rejection orders that the SEC has issued in the past, we believe that the best path to work with the SEC on approving a spot product would be to do something gradual. So we start with 100% futures and then include 10 or 15% spot, show to the SEC that everything is working fine, and then increase that allocation over time until we reach 100%. So that was our approach when we first launched DeFi back in 2022. So we started working on that approach. We've been preparing for this, and then, as everyone's aware, Grayscale won the lawsuit back in 2023, and that was a big shift that caused the SEC to change its stance in terms of how to approach crypto. And then they ended up like approving all the ETF issuers. Hashdex had a very different application from all the other issuers, exactly because we had a product that was a futures product converting to spot. So there are some nuances on the product structure that would allow us to do more efficient things like leveraging the futures market. The other Bitcoin ETFs, they can't use the futures market because they are grantor trusts. They're only uh, they can only hold Bitcoin. And the SEC throughout the process, they start having an issue with in-kind creations and redemptions, which is when you create shares of the ETF, normally you need to send the asset, the underlying asset. So in case of a Bitcoin ETF, you need to send Bitcoin to the ETF, and the ETF would issue shares. But since broker dealers in the US can't touch Bitcoin, the SEC started seeing problems. How can you deal with creations? And we proposed to do a cash creation model, which is the model that we've been working in Brazil for few years with a big success. So we proposed that cash creation model to the SEC, and that ended up like allowing all the other players to also converge to the cash model and launch the ETFs finally in January. So in the background, like we had a lot of like discussions and conversations with the SEC, with the custodians, with the other issuers, to get this product approved, to make sure that we were approved in the earliest timeline possible. So, I mean, it was a big success and a big achievement for the industry to get those ETFs approved. And the success was such a huge success. I think no one expected that level of inflows of demand for those ETFs. And the interesting thing is that this is only starting. Like the all the demand that we saw so far is basically coming from like retail investors and few institutional investors that are already lined up to invest. But starting now, we're going to start seeing the effects of the advisors coming in, and that's going to happen over the coming years. And this is we already saw that in Brazil. It takes a few months until they start allocating, but once they start, it's a big, significant move. So it's very exciting. We're very looking forward for the next few months.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So you would have seen, yeah, this is just starting to play out now as we're starting to get all these announcements in the US of various different entities that are declaring their holdings in some of the ETFs. I think one of the big ones was it the Wisconsin? I can't remember what it's called, but it's effectively the Wisconsin State Investors kind of pension fund scenario, right? And so you can imagine that in the US alone, there's trillions, and I think it's over $20 trillion in AUM represented by the various big pension funds. And sure, but there's of course pension funds everywhere. But if you do, as people, you know, some of these institutions, they do travel in packs and herds. They do move slowly, but yeah, there could be early signs that that kind of the herd is coming is starting to play out. Yeah, what do you reckon?
Yeah, yeah, no. So definitely, I think it starts with some innovators that start like to that have the courage of having that kind of allocation. And then others will follow over time. And that was very impressive to see like a state fund allocating to a Bitcoin ETF. I think it's very unprecedented, like to have something like this in the first few months of a product launch. So I think that's a big tailwind for seeing more pension funds coming in the coming months. Maybe the movement will be faster than we expected. We're expecting like pension funds to take a few years to start looking into this. They're now like already considering allocations. Some are changing the investment policies to start allocating to those products. So it's very interesting. Like you said, it's a $20 trillion market. But also, what's very interesting is that there is a $25 trillion market, which is the investment advisors. Okay. So investment advisors, up until now, they didn't have any path of offering crypto exposure to their investors. And they ended up losing investors. Investors would take their money out and just go to Coinbase and buy Bitcoin directly from there. So now those advisors will start, onboarding over time and allocating. So if you've seen in aggregate, like those two classes, we're talking about 45 billion dollars. And if they invest 0.5% or 1% of that into the ETF, it's an interesting allocation for the clients. It's not too risky, and it's going to cause a huge impact in the demand for Bitcoin in the coming years. So what we see now, like, and I spoke about that like a few months ago, when those ETFs first launched, is that we're going to see at the same time a supply shock with the halving, right? And this is a cumulative effect. This will take a long time, so to start feeling that in the supply demand curve of Bitcoin, but it's already happening. So we have a supply shock and a demand shock coming from those ETFs. So it's a very unprecedented demand that we're seeing now. So, I mean, we couldn't be more optimistic.
Yeah, very, very well said. And because another part of this is, as you talked about, all those financial advisors, wealth advisors, whatever you want to call them, but they're slowly being educated, right? So a big part
Yeah,
of the puzzle is educating all those wealth advisors
yeah,
so they can go and
yeah.
comfortably recommend the ETFs to their clients. And what you're also doing is you're seeing the various ETF providers doing marketing. Crazy to think they're spending their traditional finance money marketing Bitcoin to their clients, to the world, and Hashdex
Yeah.
is no exception. You guys had a couple of cool ads that I saw. I guess that maybe it was earlier in the year around when the ETFs were coming out. I think there was one at Burger King, with the theme that understanding disruptive technology takes time. Bitcoin's
Takes time.
time is now. Bitcoin's time has arrived. You guys were doing some marketing there. Is that going to continue?
Yeah, yeah, no, definitely. So I mean, a core value proposition that we have is education. Okay, so we normally work, like, our target market is financial advisors and institutional investors, and we work with them educating about crypto, about the investment thesis in crypto, trying to be a filter between all the noise that we see on social media and on the internet, and trying to filter that into signal. Like, what is the investment thesis? What are the opportunities in crypto that traditional investors could benefit? And so this educational effort will continue. Like, we're very strong in Brazil, in Switzerland, and we're ramping up that effort in the US. And marketing is just a part of that, like educating the investors, and marketing can also be a fun way for people to reflect, especially because we're targeting another generation. We're targeting older investors that are not used to this new technology, that are not used to a digital wallet, to digital ownership property. And one of the best analogies that we bring is technologies that they've seen in the past being ignored and then became mainstream, right? So the internet was just like that. So if you were an adult in the 90s, you heard that the internet was just a fad. The internet was just a hype. It was going away. Email was not useful, and like you see Paul Krugman back then in the 90s said that the internet would not be um, like in any way valuable. Um, and now you see that the internet is basically part of our lives. You can't live without the internet. So when you show those references to that, traditional investors, you make them click. Like, this is a new technology, just like the internet, just like the personal computer, just like the credit cards in the 50s. So I think that rings the bell with them and helps them, like, open their mind to start exploring crypto.
Yeah, and it's a really exciting way to look at Bitcoin, is that, yeah, kind of just an adoption of a new technology, and you see that, that kind of those adoption cycles tend to happen in S curves. They can get they accelerate, and certainly seeing that happen with AI at the moment. But
Yeah.
yeah, let's just be fun, I suppose, just to get your thoughts on I don't know how you want to frame it, like the Bitcoin
Yeah.
market cycle, where we are. We are a couple of months, 2 months or so after the halving. Of course, the halving was probably a sell the news event. Maybe the market got ahead of itself because of the ETFs. So seen a
Yeah.
little bit of probably, what you describe as price consolidation happening at the moment, which is it's no bad thing. But perhaps early signs that the market is starting to pick up again. Of course, it is it's a different time around, difficult time around the world, which plays into it as well. Just with runaway inflation, and people don't have perhaps the spending or investing power that they did. Not the retail investors, certainly. But yeah, it still feels like the future is bright. How would you approach this?
Yeah, no. So, I mean, I've been writing for this for more than 1 year now. That we are in a recovery phase, and a recovery phase, like Bitcoin tends to trade sideways. But sideways for Bitcoin is a big range. It's from 15,000 to $70,000. It's a big range for Bitcoin. But that's where we are, and we expect that to continue for a few months more. If history rhymes, which we think it does, because of the 4 year cycle of Bitcoin, because of behavioral biases, we believe that we're going to see the market going sideways for at least a few months more, 3 to 4 months, and then we're going to start another bull market just like the other ones we saw. It's going to be interesting to see how this one will behave with a high interest rate environment, and also the geopolitical tensions that we're seeing, because Bitcoin is is such a unique asset, in which it is both a risk asset and a potential emerging store of value, right? So it can behave like, if you see the word like inflation going higher for longer, geopolitical tensions, that tends to be good for a store of value like gold, and might be good for a store of value like Bitcoin, but it's not good for risk assets. And is Bitcoin a risk asset or a store of value? So that's the big challenge that we're going to see Bitcoin going through. And normally, what I see is that when you see monetary expansion and people have more money to invest in, they tend to go with assets like that. Tends to be positive for risk assets like Bitcoin. And when people are stressed by hyperinflation or by capital controls, especially if you look at emerging countries, they look for Bitcoin also as a store of value. So the both streams are good for Bitcoin. The middle ground, which is like, the inflation is higher, but it's not that high, and interest rates are high, but not that high, and there is tension, but there's no big stress. That's the state where Bitcoin is just floating sideways. There's no clear direction. So we expect to see that for a few months more, a consolidation, and then another bull market that maybe would take us, to 150 to $100,000, 250. We don't know, but then you see prices correcting again, uh, to, some 50, 60, 70% down, because that's just how us humans behave. Like Bitcoin has no capital controls, has no price manipulation, in terms of you don't have a government injecting cash to stabilize its prices. So it's very subject to speculation bubbles. And I mean, I see no reason for that not happening again.
Yep. Very well said. All right. Love it. Yeah, bring on the bull market. Don't
Yeah.
Doesn't matter if we have to wait. If we have to wait, we have to wait. Um,
Yeah, exactly.
it's a nice place to finish up this part of the podcast, and let's just do that by tell people, for different people around the world, whether they're in the US or Brazil, or even Latin America, Europe. I think there's probably a Hashdex, a product that is investable for most parts of the world. So yeah, just tell people where they should go to learn more, and why they should choose Hashdex to get their crypto exposure.
Yeah, so Hashdex has been one of the pioneers in the crypto asset management industry. Our angle here is to bring high quality products for institutional investors, but they're also investable by retail investors, so anyone can access our products. and they're highly available in multiple countries, as you said. So if you go to hashdex.com and select your country, you're going to see the options that we have available for each country. And the flagship product that we have is the Nasdaq Crypto Index, which like our thesis is that crypto is a new asset class and it has a significant size right now that it would benefit from a strategic allocation in the traditional portfolio. So traditional investors should look into allocating to crypto and small percentages, like from 1 to 5% of their portfolio, but they should be looking into crypto as a way to diversify their portfolio. So that's our angle. We have a lot of material, a lot of educational content in our website. So I encourage people to explore and understand the opportunities and the risks.
Yep. Very well said. All right. Links in the show notes, folks. I think what we do now is we finish off the podcast by having a little bit of fun. Samir, we're going to run you through the very famous crypto conversation hot take round. Are you up for it?
Well, yeah, let's do it.
All right. Question one for you is, where would you say that you sit on the Bitcoin maximalist to multi-chain opportunist spectrum?
So I'm on the multi-chain side. I'm not on the maximalist. I think I'm a maximalist on Bitcoin as a currency and Bitcoin as a store of value. I don't think there's any other store of value, any other option in the blockchain that would compare to Bitcoin as a store of value. But I think there's a lot of applications other than currency, other than store of value that can be leveraged with smart contracts.
Yep. And I think that's the correct answer. Both those, you can kind of be you can be a Bitcoiner and
Yeah.
believe in all the, Bitcoin principles, but still recognize.
Why not?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very, very well said. What would you say then is your firmest conviction crypto opinion?
My firmest conviction, crypto
Yep.
opinion. I think I think my firmest conviction is that like we're going to see Bitcoin in the central bank's balance sheet, just like as we see gold, and that's going to happen sooner than most people expect.
I love it. I love it. That would be interesting to see, wouldn't it? And I agree. Bill Gates famously said that we tend to overestimate what we can accomplish in 2 years and underestimate what we can accomplish in 10. So anything you like here, Bitcoin, blockchain, Web3, crypto, Hashdex, ETFs. What does the world look like in 10 years' time?
So I see like in 10 years' time, um, you know what? Like credit cards would be something we would be laughing at, like how the internet was run on top of credit cards. And crypto as a payment is just like way better for the internet, and we're going to be using this on a day-to-day basis without even calling it crypto, without even calling it stable coin or whatever. We're just going to have a wallet, and our wallet will have assets, and we're going to use those assets to pay. And this will be running on top of blockchain and smart contracts, and without us knowing, without us noticing. So that's how I see 10 years.
I love it. William Gibson, sci-fi author, famously said that the future is already here. It's just not evenly distributed. With that in mind, can you think of an example of the future being here right now, but most people aren't aware of it?
So future here right now, and people are not aware. So in crypto, I see like, yeah, no, I think, and looking this from the institutional side, the big discussion on central banks is central bank digital currency. That's what all these central banks are exploring and trying to leverage. And the future is already here. The answer is here. It's stable coins. Like if you want to issue national currencies, They are digital and they are interchangeable, and then you can send anywhere. You just use stable coins. So why invent a new, complex thing to control? So the future is already here. Stable coins will be the future of payments. Stable will be the future of currency, of national currency.
Yeah,
So yeah, it's already here.
I like it. All right, that brings us to the final question, which is, what is your favorite science fiction book, film, or TV show?
Whoa, I'll have to think about that for a moment. I'm not sure if I have a favorite one. Um, can look up. I have to pass on that one. I don't have any specific. I'm not a sci-fi like fan. I watch it, I follow it, but I'm not really like active in sci-fi,
Yeah,
unfortunately.
that's okay. You haven't seen, didn't see any of the recent Dune movies?
Which movie?
Dune.
Dune. No, no, haven't seen that yet.
Yeah, never mind.
It's on my
Didn't
list.
didn't watch Three Body Problem on Netflix.
It's on my list as well. Like,
Yeah.
but
It's
this one I'm looking forward to watch actually. I've been hearing like great things about it.
yeah.
I
There
wonder
you
what
go.
you think about it. Is it a good one? I should watch it.
Did yeah,
Right,
def
prioritize this over Dune.
well, they're both. I think Dune 2 is probably the best movie, sci-fi movie of the last 5 years,
Oh yeah.
or yeah, it's very very good. But it's best seen on the big screen. But yeah, spectacular. But the
Hmm.
Three Body Problem is a fantastic series. If you just want something to binge at home on Netflix, fantastic. Um,
Cool.
quite high
I'll do it.
concepts. Yeah. All right, there you go. Well, my job is done. Recommended Dune and the Three Body Problem. Brings us to the end of the show. Thank you so much for coming on and spending some time with us. Just to finish off, tell people where they can find you on X or wherever else you like to hang out online. And again, just shout out the Hashdex website one more time.
Yeah. Thank you, Andy. It was a big pleasure. Really enjoyed that conversation. You can find me on Twitter or X, Samir Kerbage. And yeah, you can connect us with through hashtags as well. The hashtags at hashtags, hashtags.com. We are, looking forward to connect and keep engaging. So thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Samir. All the best and bye for now. All right, there you go. That was Samir from Hashdex. Yeah, hey, that was a good chat. I really enjoyed that. And yeah, interesting. I just sort of noticed, yeah, just as we're talking, Bitcoin shooting up again to 65,000. So that's about the highest it's been for a little while, certainly a few weeks, maybe even a month. Will it hold? I don't know. As Samir said, we could just be in a range, kind of between 60 and 70, which is the fine. We could range for a while yet. I don't know. We'll have to see. I'm sure you'll be watching. Thanks, team. We reached the end of another show. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. This was the Crypto Conversation for Brave New Coin. Bye for now.